Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of 12 frames per second or 12 FPS here at EGAD headquarters. I am your host, Carmichael, also known as Mikey, finally getting voice mod working for the first time in forever with my dear friend Winona. Say hi, Winona.
Hello. Welcome to this somewhat is a impromptu FPS. Like we've had this wanting to do this for a while, but we didn't know when and we were like, "Hey, we're both free today." So here we are.
And here we are. Sadly, our third buddy couldn't make it. They're taking a bit of a hiatus, but we understand.
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
it's doable with two. It's doable with two.
Yeah.
That being said, let's go ahead and do you want to roll up the weather or do you want me to roll up the weather?
Let's roll. What do I need to roll?
3d20.
All right. 1 second. Ugh. I I'm rearranging some of my furniture. It's just like ugh, I'm sinking into my couch.
Uh-huh.
Also, I got an extremely fluffy blanket for Christmas this year. It is so nice.
Nice.
Alright, and I'll use some of my new dice. I'll just do one of Mad Lad's dice, one of my new Panda dice, and these cool little wispy blue and purple dice.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, let's start with Mad Lad. Stay in the bin. Okay, that's a
Oh,
5.
if you hear any racket over here, I believe my sister and her fiance are finally coming back after their extended stay in Florida. So the dog is going to be very yappy.
That's fair. Second one. That's a 2. Great start, folks. And third is a nat 1.
Okay, repeat the numbers slower.
5, 2, 1.
It's a perfectly normal, perfectly clear, perfectly chilly winter afternoon. It's kind of trailing into the evening, though, because everybody knows in the middle of winter, night comes at about 5 o'clock. So
Mm-hmm.
I say afternoon, but it's already night. So
Yeah.
it is a brisk, chilly, normal winter's night because winter is supposed to be chilly, and I will not stop reminding people about that.
Yes, I'm very sad at how warm it's been. I want chilly winters, please.
We got snow the other night and it didn't even stick. I'm still mourning it.
You're lucky
Like,
you've gotten snow. We've just gotten frost.
no need to make the no. We don't need to make Olympics about the winter. We both know what we want.
Yeah.
But anyway, where is Mad Lad at the time that Roguefort finally gets back from another hunt?
Where is Mad Lad? That's a good question. Probably by the probably by the fire. Because it's cold. It's nice to be by the fire.
Fair enough. Would you roll me a perception check?
Yes. Mad Lad, can you perceive tonight? Yes, you can. Thank God. That's gonna be a 13. Let me get in the roll. That's gonna be a 13 plus 6.
Hmm.
Be a 19.
Nice. On a 19, you happen to hear the distant opening and shutting of the treehouse door.
Mad Lad's probably gonna lean back and look. Also,
And
Red is
you
at the.
hear.
Also, sorry,
Hmm?
you go.
No, you first. I was interrupting.
No, you're fine. Also, I want to write it. I know why he's by the fire because Red is cold and bugs like warmth. Bugs do not like cold, so Red and him are by the fire to warm Red up. Red up.
Mhm. As the door opens, you can hear the familiar paw steps of a small cookie based dragon and the small cookie rider. as they come in. Coconut Blossom Sugar Cookie appears to have come back, along with her dragon. And with a 19 in perception, you can see the vague, brief silhouette of Roguefort outside doing something, but he doesn't come in yet. But you can see the dinner critters all uh, appropriately frosty looking. Man, frosted strawberries sound real good to you right about now.
Yeah.
But
Bad luck.
Coco waves, and she waves very cheerfully upon seeing your little head peering through, in spite of the fact she still has that eyeball around her neck.
And Bad luck
Hey!
smiles and waves too.
We're back! I believe that should be the last one for this month, though I'm not sure what business we're going to be put on once the new year passes.
Don't need to worry about until the new year comes. This is the time to do absolutely nothing.
Man, I wish it was the time to do nothing. But Roguefort has to go and butcher that body outside, so I just have to sit in here and warm up. He didn't want me helping for some reason.
Well, Mad Lad just stands up and there's like some audible cricks in his neck and back as he stretch. How about you just take a break? I'll go out and help him.
Well, I mean, I'd really rather help him myself, but he was insisting he wanted to do it alone, so I don't think he'd take your help either. And she kind of steps closer and she sort of lifts up a little simple cookie hand to whisper, like stage whisper, he's not in the best of moods. It didn't go very well.
Mad Lad nods. Well, maybe I can cheer him up. You never know. I'll give it a shot. I'm willing to try anything. He sounds very confident in doing this.
Roll me a persuasion check.
It's a straight 10.
Let me roll insight for Coco. And Coco's insight is a +3.
Of course.
What is it, 18? Right through that 10?
Mad Lad feels confident that he can. It's just general confidence that he's like, he can perk up his mood. He knows Roguefort say well enough. Maybe he could maybe he could talk about other stuff, but it's just like, it's more like, it's just general confidence and or arrogance.
Mm-hmm. And you can see that a hulking behemoth of a dragon next to her is just kind of slowly narrowing the eyes toward you. Just slowly. Well, I mean, you're welcome to try. But if I couldn't get through to him, I doubt that you can. And believe me, I've been able to get through to him these past few weeks.
Oh? What do you mean by that?
What don't I mean by that? I mean, normally I'm able to cheer him up and I just can't this time?
Fair enough. And he's like, I could try. Mad Lad, looks towards Red. Though I think Red is just gonna stay by the fire. Why don't you stay by the fire too? I mean, you again. I know you say there's no time for a break, but this is the best time for a break. You should relax.
Well, and before she can respond, her companion already sort of stomps by her, and you casually watch as the dragon approaches and nips at Red's imaginary heels to get him to move a little so that I can take the better spot.
Roll persuasion and or animal handling for the dragon.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's a +6. So,
1 sec, let me get Red stats out. Alright.
that is, however, a base 10. So all you gotta do is beat a 10.
Let's see. Yeah, that's a 17 on the die. Red is not having it. He's even even he's just out of spite, even just sprawling out a little bit more. He's like, no, this is my spot.
The dragon takes one look at that, looks over Red sprawled out, and then lays on top of him, nearly crushing him.
Oh no. Red, what will you do?
This is literally just big dog behavior. It's just like, okay, you won't get out of my bed? Fine, I'll sit. And just sitting on the animal that's taking the spot.
You know, Red is stubborn. He is not moving from that spot. He's just letting the dragon just lay on him. He does not care. As long as he gets the warmth of the fire.
Hey, Meg, you don't need to sit on him. And Coco, of course, brushes past you to try and persuade the dragon not to, but the dragon's not listening. They aren't distracted, though.
And Mad Lad takes his little, say, there's a little poof. There's like a little cartoon out, say, silhouette of Mad Lad, like dust cloud as he rushes outside.
Now, you've known Roguefort for long enough. You traditionally know where he's established the little butchery, where he butchers the fresh kills to stock the pantry with meat. Or whatever isn't quite made of meat, but goes in the pantry anyway.
Yes, that's
right. And you turn and, you turn and you see a slightly gruesome scene. You need to make a con save.
Let's see. Okay, I don't know why you were acting up earlier today, Dice, but now you're being very nice. That's a nat 20.
You get like the split second, but that's just your normal reaction of a split second gut reaction of ugh. But you're kind of used to it at this point. It's not that Roguefort's desensitized you to it or anything. I mean, you are a small child who was also a pirate who has probably killed people, maybe not.
He's at least gutted a few fish at times.
You've gutted some fish, but this is not a fish that Roguefort is gutting. As you turn and you look, you see what appears to be something you can't fully identify. It looks like a traditional quadruped beast at first, but it appears to be made out of... It looks like it's made out of Yule log cake?
Mad, just kind of like a dog just turns his head to the side. It's like, what the heck is that?
And allow me to get Roguefort's voice mod going. Do you say that out loud to Roguefort, or are you just like observing?
Yeah, he is asking that out loud.
It is a Yule cat. Normally a pest around this time of year, but they make for good eating. So
a Yule cat. I never heard about that.
As you look the beast over, you can kind of see a little more detail. You almost can't quite tell whether it's a beast or a construct, because as Yule log treats are traditionally, they look like logs, this would almost just look like a cat-shaped construct of logs. If it wasn't for the frosting and the swirly patterns and the sugary decorations. It doesn't really even have traditional facial features, though it does have frosted fur. It's kind of more the silhouette of a cat rather than what looks like an actual feline. But he cuts into it and it just looks like cake. So it's just one of those videos where it's just you cut into something that looks lifelike and it's just cake.
I'm sorry, but all I can think of are the Timberwolves from My Little Pony, except in cat form.
Understandable. Unfortunate, but understandable.
Look, those Timberwolves designs are really cool, but to get back on there.
They are cool. They are cool. I'm sad there's not like a GIF of them available that I can just post into the audience chat, but they are there. They are cool. But still, focusing on the story at hand, Roguefort doesn't really answer you otherwise. He's just kind of busy. He's just busy butchering the animal. Of course, you have to get the organs, you have to get the skin, but there are different unique processes to each. And admittedly, the idea of watching him dissect a Yule log cake wild big cat feels a little odd, but It's there, and he's doing it.
Yeah, Mad
Though you
Lab's.
can't.
Yeah, Mad Lab is just watching him curiously. He's just like, how would you de-gut and skin a thing like this? And he is genuinely interested. Like, how do you do that? Or like, or what's the process of doing that? But it's just like it.
And the thing you notice is it looks deceptively simple, in spite of the fact it's not. He takes the frosting fur off first, and then just cuts the rest of it like a normal Yule log cake. And that's it. That's all he does. But he does it with such expertise in which just slow, methodical, and irritated movements, it still feels like he's cutting through an animal's joints. So
Can I
the
help you with
skinning
it?
process, he kind of pauses. No, I believe I have this handled. Head back inside. It's cold.
I know it's cold, but I wanted to be with you. And yeah, say Coco and the dragon are distracted right now.
I'm going to roll him an insight to see if he can pick up what you're putting down. His insight is only a +2, and I'm also seeing how many skills of his are just -1. Bless your stupid heart, buddy. That's an 11.
I mean, I think he gives the vibe. I think he can at least get the vibe of what is a Mad Lad is putting down.
He gets a spare, googly eyed glance out of the corner of his eye. And most of the dinner critters kind of focus on him. And you also notice that even though it's not snowing or raining, the dinner critters are kind of sheltering closer to the treehouse.
Fair.
They are seeking warmth. They do not enjoy the chilly winter air. Roguefort, however, looks perfectly at home in this.
You alright?
That was phlegm, my mistake. Let me take a drink of water. I'm good now. The dinner critters seek out more warmth, but Roguefort looks like he's perfectly content in the cold environment. He's not even shivering in the slightest. Meanwhile, that poor Bianca, the poor Strabby, looks frosted over. She's so chilly. Even in her ethereal state, she's so fucking chilly.
Aww.
It's the cartoon chill, though, not the genuinely dangerous kind.
No, I know the gag.
But like, he kind of gives you a look out of the corner of your eye, and then he resumes with the skinning process. What is it you want to talk about?
Look, I know. Well, Coco said you weren't in the best of moods, but at the same time, I just need to say that I know a way to release you from the hold of the hags.
I need to roll him a concentration check, and then a dexterity saving throw to see if he accidentally chops off a hand or not. So concentration is con save. He gets a +0 to that. Bless his big heart. 19. He doesn't even need to make the save.
Yay!
The knife kind of stops after a particular nick, like it just sort of freezes a moment. There's almost a moment that, and it's only because you've been around him long enough, you can see the briefest look of exhaustion on his face of not this again, not this topic again. I've already said that about this before, not this again. But he like just takes a deep breath and just sort of looks over. All right. Shoot.
It's not gonna be easy, and we're gonna need a little bit of help because of what it entails.
Uh-huh. And you were saying this assuming I will be able to assist you.
I mean, unless you know of God yourself?
You see one of his candied antennae eyebrows just kind of twitch curiously.
Long story short, there's a plant on the island that is home to Cersei, and we need to get it. However, the problem is only a god can touch it without dying instantly.
Roll him a religion check. That's a +1. He's not a very religious fairy. He just kind of stares for a moment and then sort of slowly repeats the words to process them to you. There is an island with a plant ruled by a Cersei. A plant that only gods can pick. And how is this supposed to help with breaking the hold of the headships?
Because when prepared correctly, okay, I forget the exact wording of what you said, Mike, but basically it breaks within, they break any contract.
I have the words. I
Yeah.
have the words. When prepared correctly, it is able to break the hold of any charm or magic that currently reigns over Roguefort and his free will, essentially making him immune to all charm and binding.
And Mad Lad basically repeats what you just said to him.
Yeah, it's essentially just you want free will completely and totally. You want to be immune to control and charm and that kind of binding magic. Yeah, sure, there's a plan for that. We're not going to tell you what it costs, but there's a plan for that. And he just kind of. Mad Lad. Boy, I have heard similar stories to this before, and none of them have panned out. What makes you think this one is different?
Because Wibella told me directly where to find it. And after.
And he just sharply inhales. You can continue, but he just kind of inhales.
And after meeting her directly, our assumptions were correct. She is, well, secretly on our side.
Right. I had almost forgotten about that little errand I assisted you with. And how can you trust this coming out of her own mouth?
Madla is quiet.
What makes you think you can believe a word she says proper? She could be sending you to this place to die. She could be sending you to another hag. Or she could be sending you on a wild goose chase meant to get you as far away from Egad as possible with no hope of return, only to inconvenience you. What makes you believe her?
Well, he's trying to think of his words carefully.
Mm-hmm. And while you're doing so, he's slowly continuing the Yule log cat skinning process. I say skinning loosely because it is just, peeling off the frosting, essentially.
But because she is trapped herself.
His hand slows, and I'm actually going to roll him a nature check this time. It's nature or arcana for the check he wants to make, but I'm going to go with nature because he gets a higher mod to that.
That's fair.
You've got to roll better, my guy. You've got to start rolling better. Buddy, please.
God damn, the operator does not like you today.
I'm gonna roll him a save against the oven real quick. That is going to be a wisdom save of +2. It's not for like mind control or anything. It's just to see if he can try and remember something. Kind of thinks for a moment, and he's going to get one last chance at the nature roll, but if it fails again, it fails again.
That's fair.
22.
Yeah.
At first, he struggles to think on it because thinking of a hag being trapped is a similar concept to saying that a tiger eats vegetables and doesn't like eating meat. It's just not natural to them. Hags are trap makers, they're deceivers, they're cunning and witty and vile, and they don't usually get trapped unless it's by their own hubris. But then he thinks. In the back of his mind, he does recall Buntilda's sisters are not her original sisters. They do have the tendency to die, and she does have the tendency to replace them rather frequently. Although she hasn't had to in a while. Not that, of course, Mad Lad would fully know the context to all of that, but
No.
he just kind of thinks. Are you saying this one retains memories from before Haghood?
He nods a bit, but like you, it's hard for her to do it sometimes.
As it would be. The hag's magic is a powerful thing, and the transformation into a hag is an irreversible one.
Yeah. It's awful.
It is awful. But then there are more awful things in the world to see. You learn to push past it.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Mad Lad, you definitely tell there's something else. You're pretty sure it's not related to the hag thing, but Mad Lad's just like, oh yeah, there's definitely some things that are worse, but let's not talk about that for the moment.
And you believe because you have caught a glimpse of this secret retainment that you can find cooperation in Aunt Wibella?
Yes.
And so you believe what she says when she claims there is a plant protected on an island that only gods can pull that can free me of this.
Yes.
Well, I've heard worse goose chases. And certainly less convincing ones.
Yeah, but we'll need to try to convince Belle to come to join us.
Why him?
Because he's a god. He's a devil, but he's still a god. He's still godlike.
He is a devil. He is a fiend. If we're being semantic, I doubt that would fully apply to the effect of whatever plant you were trying to harvest.
No.
But
He's not he's not a devil. He's the devil.
he takes like a solid second to process this, and I actually need to roll him a religion to see if he knows who that is, or if it's just like, I don't get the difference.
It'd be funny. I would totally understand why he would, because he hasn't grown up in Inkwell.
That's a 3. He like kind of stands there a moment and then goes, you say that like there is a difference?
Mad Lad face palms himself. Look, I shouldn't probably be surprised since you haven't lived on Inkwell for your whole life. But the devil is a godly figure that represents the ruler of our save hell. Or at least the Toon version of hell. There's technically two.
I was about to say, the ruler of the nine hells would be Asmodeus, and I did not think Toons were allowed to consort with him on the principle of Toons and real kind interaction.
Yeah,
But
that's why
I
there's a
don't know that much.
yeah, that's why there's a Toon Hell in particular, and he's
Hmm.
the ruler of it.
Maybe, but be that as it may, it would still be rather. Did you want my help on it, or is it really just.
It's more like I want your permission for me to ask him myself. Because unless you know another god that isn't a god of chaos, we don't because we don't have many options.
You say that? I actually need to look through his life events real quick. Because I need to make sure whether he does or not. Okay. I need to roll some dice just a moment, if you don't mind me doing so.
All right, I'm interested in where this is going.
Ow, ow, ow. So I need to roll 3d100 and then a d something else. Don't worry about the Y. Don't worry about the Y. I'm even going to block out the text so that you choose not to read it until I tell you.
All right.
So 3d100. Let's see what he gets. 292.20. Okay, well the 2 makes sense. 92 and 20. Well, it's not necessarily very supernatural if he visits his home plane. That's just normal. But oh, what is that noise? Loud ass honk in the living room. Actually, I might have to BRB real quick just to check what the hell is going on in there. Just a moment, I'll be right back.
No, you're fine.
I'm back. They are watching a movie in the living room. That explains the loud ass honk I heard.
That's fair.
And where's the other thing? That's the okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now I roll a d5, and we'll see if he has options. So, a 5. Uh-huh. Give me just a minute. What the fuck are those? Jeez Louise. That's a fiend. That's not what I'm looking for. fascinating. Okay. And give me just a moment. That's not exactly what I'm looking for, Wiki, but thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to grab a very specific something for a very specific reason.
Fair enough.
So I apologize for the awkward quiet. And let me also pick up the Wikipedia article for Molly real quick, because Molly is the specific plant that we are discussing here. For those
Yes.
of you unfamiliar with the tale of Circe, Molly was the plant that which was gifted to Odysseus by Hermes to immunize him to the charms and magic of Circe, goddess of sorceries, potions, and elixirs, among other things. Grew from the blood of the giant. Assignment to a real species. That's not quite what we're looking for. The loud noises from the movie continue to be distracting.
Well, we'll say good news. I do not hear him on my end.
Okay, cool. That means hopefully the recording doesn't get them either, because if it's a movie, I would hate to imagine the
Mm-hmm.
copyright strike if it was a movie.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid. Hmm. And oh, here we go. Here's a section. What the? Hang on. I would like to click this. Thank you. Hmm. It's fascinating. Okay, we're gonna do a coin flip. Is what we're gonna do. So, Winona,
Mm-hmm.
heads or tails? Which side do you think should be the Shadowfell, and which side do you think should be the Feywild?
Ooh. Let's go with the obvious. Feywild heads and Shadowfell tails.
All right. So, heads it's the Feywild, tails it's the Shadowfell. Okay, I get to look at deities from the Shadowfell. Fun choice. Oh, hey, there's my boy Noel. Oh man, I had a Dragonborn Necromancer dedicated to him. Oh, I miss her dearly.
Nice.
I'm also, we're not touching Vecna with the 10-foot pole. We're fucking off with that. We're not touching that. Not a hope in hell. Oh, there's art of Noel. Oh, that's cute. That's cool. Man, I really, actually, hmm, mm-hmm. We can make that work. We can make it work. We can make it work. We can make this work, actually. And he kind of sits there a moment and he thinks. Because the first and foremost thought is you going to a fiend for help is the first sign of bad business. Because business done with fiends normally has to do with, you know, you know, cartoon fiends normally don't do anything without putting somebody's immortal soul on the line. That's just how it goes. That's just how the trope is.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he sees it as a trope, but it's just the traditional business of cartoon fiends to just be like, well, I'll do this, but I'll do this if. And even if Bell is assisting the guild, he doesn't necessarily want to trust his freedom to Bell, because trusting his freedom to a devil, let alone the devil, does not sound good in his brain. Like, maybe you trust this guy and he's seen him a little bit, so it's not like he's the worst, but in the same breath, he doesn't really trust him as much, and he doesn't quite like his vibe. He doesn't hate him, but by God, he does not trust him as far as he can throw him. He can throw him probably over an Olympic football field if he tried. The guy has horns like fear. But then he thinks. And again, you haven't known him to be very religious, but he thinks, and he gets a really thoughtful look as he's kind of. You notice the way he moves when he's getting this frosting fur off of this Yule log cake construct cat.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a meditative motion for him that's kind of helping him think. But there's a while, it's almost as if he kind of zones out thinking, and then eventually the carving, the removal of this frosting fur just stops. And he tilts his head, and you can see the way that his antennae twitch in the cold winter breeze as he just thinks. Now, you also remember that Tyke and some of the others did make a friend of a different deity, that of Umberly, the bitch queen herself. And I love that that's her canon epithet. Love that to pieces. Love that they decided, yes, we're going to call this one the bitch queen. I love her to pieces. Love that name so much.
It is a fun name.
It's such a fun name. I'm sad they don't do it more. But back on the focus, he doesn't know that part. But he thinks, and he gets kind of a perplexed look. And then he actually pulls the knife away from the Yule cat. And you can kind of see the way the dinner critters are also looking amongst each other because, again, they're still connected to the hive mind at this point. So they are sharing his thoughts and they're also looking amongst each other uncertainly. And you can actually see the way a few of them sort of skitter toward him, even though they would love to be staying by the window where it's nice and toasty. And just
well,
kind
they
of
look inside
seriously.
and they see Red making sure that this dragon does not take his spot. It is probably keeping Coconut very entertained.
Coco just looks very, very exhausted by this, but the dragon is also absolutely refusing to give up, which is probably making Red almost cartoonishly sweat. Because it's a cartoon, and we know bugs don't sweat IRL, but
yeah, we know.
that's a big old cookie dragon just sitting on top of him.
Yes.
It's just a battle of attrition. It's a battle of stubbornness in there. And he looks them over for a minute, and he just and he looks over to Coco, who conveniently is, thankfully, she is not at the angle where her necklace can see outside, and he's not within full view of the room. So the good news is it is at least windy enough that it's not good to try and listen to what's going on outside.
Mm-hmm.
But he thinks on a moment, and I need to roll him one more religion check.
All right.
And I'm actually going to ask you, should he roll the Shadowfell-based religion check straight or with advantage? It's up to you.
Well, I feel like with advantage because at least his ex-boyfriend is technically from they're usually synonymous with the Shadow Realm. Or at least That's how I sort of is like. I could sort of see that he would know maybe a little bit more than the average person.
Let me pull it up real quick. Part of my brain's itching on that statement a little. I gotta double check it to make sure because my brain's like, I do not recall that.
I
I
am
just gotta
pretty
double check.
dang sure that they come, or at least they very much. I know they are from the underground, but I'm pretty dang sure
Underdark.
there's also a good chunk in the Shadowfell.
Underdark. They are
Yes.
from the Underdark. They are made by Lolth, but give me just a moment. Can Drider be found in the Shadowfell? Creatures found in the Shadowfell. Driders are not included. However, drow dragons can be found there, which is a fucked up thing to read. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's sort of weird.
But no, Driders are not listed as a local creature to the Shadowfell.
Okay, I was wrong then. Probably just with regular then. If we were to be fair. Unless he
Mm-hmm.
unless he studies like things from the Shadowfell himself or hunts stuff from the Shadowfell.
Well, here's the thing. Lolth, the creator of the Drider, her home is actually in the Abyss. She technically qualifies as demon or demon affiliated because she is from her place of dominion is the Demon Web Pits,
Fair
which
enough.
is in the Abyss. Now, Drow can get into the Shadowfell. That doesn't mean they get there by choice, and it doesn't mean it's fun. They get there. Drider, though, not traditionally. But you sure you want to make it advantage or straight?
Uh,
This
hmm.
is a big roll here I'm asking you about.
Yeah, let's go advantage.
I figured that would be whether you chose it or not.
Yeah.
Let's see if he recognized who it was he meant. I'd say a 15. He didn't even need the advantage. A 15 will do it. And he kind of glances down to the dinner critters. And I do need to pull up his list of critters because he does have a list of dinner critters, believe it or not. I made a list to keep track because I didn't want to be inconsistent.
Honestly, that's totally valid.
Let's see. D&D Roguefort details. Here we go. I gotta scroll all the way to the bottom of his fucking list of dinner critters. Ow! I would love not to have a pressure headache. That'd be splendid. And he kind of looks them over. And then his gaze falls in particular to what appears to be a very. It actually falls onto the little bunger, the barbecue bunger, who kind of slows in his swaying, which is almost uncharacteristic of this little guy. I say little as if he's not big enough to knock you over and run you over, but still. We know what bungers are, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually see a look of contemplation briefly enter this barbecue burger's face, which again looks unorthodox on a googly eyed burger.
Mm-hmm.
And just as quickly as that look of contemplation appears and almost makes it look like a thinking, breathing creature, it is back to looking brain dead as hell. And Roguefort looks between some of the others and then back to you. Actually, there might be someone else.
Oh?
Although I do not know whether she would be an easy access for you to commune with, or if she would be willing to do you such a favor as this. But she does qualify, I believe, as a deity.
Alright, who is it?
Give me a second, let me pull her up again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to see if she had a different name that he would know her by, or if he really did just know her. Okay, it seems to be the case. All right. Tell me, have you heard of the one called the Raven Queen? And that is a religion check.
Ready. All right. That is a.
I'll drink some water while we do that because, by God, I hate the atmosphere at the moment.
That's a 16.
You are familiar. Let me pull up her proper little statistic. Not that you're going to know the most on her, mind you.
No, that's
But
understandable.
you are if I can fucking grab her little thing. I can grab her little thing. You are vaguely familiar with her. And familiar in that you've certainly heard of her. And that you have certainly seen some folks who have taken worship of her into account. But it's not the most overt of practices.
Understandable.
The Raven Queen is a goddess of life, death, and memory. She is often said to be a collector of memories, mementos, and pieces of the past. And to some was said to be obsessed with observing them even, which, from what you know of sugar plum fairies, hearing her be mentioned by Roguefort is surprising, yet also makes sense when you take into account her obsession with the past and with memory, because sugar plum fairies are fairies of nostalgia and memory.
Mad Lad.
But she is also over life and death. And while most can make a guess as to why she did what she did, others maintaining that she made people face their fears and pains, while others just thought she was insane and just observed these things to just prevent herself from fading into oblivion, there were others that proclaimed that there was purpose to her actions. But she's fairly secluded, and it's difficult to get in touch with her without the right connections.
Mad Lad.
You don't know much else otherwise.
Yeah, Mad Lad nods slowly. I definitely heard of her from traveling around with my mom. But I could see. Oh, do you actually know her?
I believe we have met.
Okay, now you gotta tell me that story.
It is not much a story. There is not much to remember. I was on an assignment. I was retrieving ingredients for one of Head Chef Bunny's recipes. This hunt brought me to the Shadowfell. But before that point, I had not hunted in the Shadowfell. It was not, so to say, a fun experience, and I do not recommend it.
Yeah, the Shadowfell is polar opposite than the Feywild. It's kind of its point, so I can understand why you were very uncomfortable being there.
Uncomfortable is an understatement. I didn't want to stay, but I had an assignment and I had my orders, so I had to persevere. I do not remember how that hunt went, or how it ended. But I remember her. And I remember when I got back, I had the ingredients I was looking for. And I had a very conveniently worded answer for my disappearance as well. Although I do not remember coming up with it myself. It's very foggy. It might have happened before I was rebaked at one point, but we have met.
Yeah.
Perhaps if I could speak to her again, it would freshen the memory, but I would not choose to gamble on such a thing, considering how long it must have been by now. But if you seek a deity that could assist you, then she might be willing to assist, although I do not know if I will be able to curry any favor with her.
I don't know. I mean, she is a goddess of like lost memories and stuff, so could be definitely the reason why that she found you and or possibly even talked to you in the Shadowfell in the first place. I'm not very sure either, but at the same time, what I say if you think that is a better shot, we can try.
Well, I would say I would trust her more with it than I would trust Monsieur Bill. It is no offense on his part, but if we put any business into a devil's hands, there's bound to be a catch.
Look, I would trade up my soul for say for yours. Do not worry.
I would prefer that you didn't.
Look, I'm going to go to Toon Hell most likely anyway, so I'm trying to get the best deal out of it.
Shut. No. We're not going to speak like that. You're not going to speak like that. And you're certainly not selling your soul for me. Let's get that straight. Although
Alright.
I'm not.
Alright. So I don't
But
know any way into the Shadowfell. So I'm not very sure how.
No, we're not taking you there. It's up to you to try and find a means to communicate. I've met her, and that does not mean I know how to communicate. But I was just giving you a lead, an idea, something. Still, even if you choose to get assistance from someone else, it isn't as if you're going to be able to go far and do much, and I certainly won't be able to come with you and help, especially with certain supervision in a way.
That's fair. And I'm just trying to figure out a way to do this. Because I'm not very, I can ask around. I know of, am friends with one god, but unfortunately, they haven't been around for about 3,000 years. Unfortunately, bad stuff happened to them, and they recently are now back on the scene after a long absence.
He
But
he kind of gets a look at you because on the one hand you say, "Oh, I'm also friends with the god," and then you say, "Granted, it's been about 3,000 years," and you can immediately see the cartoon thought bubble above his head that is trying to calculate whether you are genuinely more than 3,000 years old or not.
Madeline probably sees it as like, no, I'm not 3,000 years. The god is 3,000, was gone for about 3,000 years and recently came
Then,
back.
then how did you? I'm not going to question. I'm not going to question it.
One of their clerics is friends with me, and they help save this god in particular. Ironically, it's the god of protecting children in childhood, say like growing up and everything. So yeah,
Huh.
but that's a different story.
Huh.
I can,
You have a lot of stories, little man.
yeah, but it also comes with the territory of getting into a lot of stuff.
Eh, fair enough. He says, having been through a lot of stuff. So he would continue with the skinning process as he then says, "Of course, there is but one issue."
Yeah, and she couldn't really. I mean, she couldn't really, unfortunately, help us with that. We'll have to find our own way to win the others' favor in getting that necklace off, but
Well, the way would be simple, just not easy. I have to prove I'm a capable hunter who does not need supervision and doesn't need anyone holding my hand to get things done. The problem is finding something that fits the bill, as it were.
Yeah. I know not too long ago there was like a blue dragon problem that adventurers faced. I don't think it was actually dealt with.
Hmm. Blue dragon parts would be very nice in the kitchen, but when I was younger, I used to be able to handle dragons very easily. I do not know how much they would be impressed by that.
Fair enough.
Now, keep in mind, we do not handle very big dragons, but they used to be part of the regular poaching. He doesn't look proud saying it's poaching, but he's at least honest about it.
Madlad nods. That's fair.
I will admit, I have been given a few options. Not that I am necessarily fond of them, and not that hunting them alone would be easy, but I have been given options.
I mean,
And I know there are certain creatures that supplies would be desirable to my supervisors, but hmm, I don't really like the idea of endangering anyone else with assisting me, so it has to be something I can take care of alone.
eh, look, I'm already knee deep in this anyways, and as I wouldn't mind helping you out on this.
Yes, I'm aware of that, but you have to consider the fact I would prefer the idea that you do not die for this.
Look, look, I don't think I'm gonna be dying anytime soon if the plot has to is with me.
Again, you keep bringing up the word plot. I do not have any idea what we're talking about.
That's basically sort of, you know how tunes are very entwined with stories.
No, every living thing is entwined with stories. It's not just Toonkind.
Okay, you had me there. Technically, yes, that is true. But tunes are
Mm-hmm.
very much in more sync with their story than most. And I
Mm-hmm.
know, well, this is a topic I did really want to touch on, but I've, I unfortunately have a bad feeling that something bad is going to probably happen to me, and most likely soon.
I mean, considering the amount of danger you keep putting yourself through, I'm not too surprised.
No, no, this is not your normal type of danger.
There
I'm
is no normal type of danger.
this this is the type of danger where this literally makes or breaks me. Like this not only has to do with me, but it also has to do with Alexander.
He finishes getting the frosting fur off at that point, but he is looking at you out of the corner. He is listening. But he very slowly.
We have learned something very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We
Roll me perception check, by the way.
alright. Ooh, good, good, good. What's his modifier? Yes, he is a very perceptive boy. 23.
You hear the door to the treehouse open again. Someone's stepping outside.
My blood stops. You know, never mind. Don't worry about me. But if something does
The,
happen to me,
the steps approach rather quickly. And when Roguefort turns, you hear that familiar voice. So, how's the butchery going?
oh, it's going well.
And Roguefort straightens up and nods, and you turn and see Coco, and she's just, oh, that's good. So, Roguefort, sir, how are you feeling? Any better? He doesn't answer immediately. I'll take that as a no? No. Well, yes. No? I'm doing fine. You don't need to concern yourself. Keep in mind, I am still frustrated with this thing for earlier, but I'm fine. Are you sure? Oui, I'm positive. Now, you know you don't do well in the cold. You really should head back inside. Well, yeah, but I mean, your dinner critters are kind of shivering. Don't you want to bring them in as well? And Roguefort turns and looks at them. And the dinner critters are really trying their best to make themselves inconspicuous again, but it's a little too late. Once I am done with the Yule cat here, then I will head back in. Understood? Understood. Try not to freeze out here. We're supposed to be getting snow. I don't think I've seen snow in the material plane before. Should be nice.
Mad Lad nods. Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's almost like the whole world is covered in powdered sugar.
Oh, well, that should remind you of home then, shouldn't it, sir? And Roguefort just kind of buzzes a grumble and gets back to butchering the Yule log cat. Yeah.
Yeah. I should probably get to check on Red anyways.
Oh, Red's doing fine. He's perfectly toasty where he's sitting. Although I've been trying to persuade him to move, and he's been refusing. And she looks directly through the window while the eye on the necklace does not follow her line of sight and stays firmly focused on Roguefort, who is continuing to hollow out the Yule log kitty and try not to acknowledge that he is being stared at. But hang on, where did my hand sanitizer bottle fall? There we go. Wonderful. What? Sorry, Mother got me a couple of Purell hand sanitizer bottles.
Nice.
I missed the little handbag Bath and Body Works hand sanitizer bottles, but I guess we couldn't get those. But
I say they're probably most likely all out. I say those things go very quickly.
that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, Coco looks inside, and you can no longer see Red underneath of her cookie companion Meg.
Mad Lad nods, just like Red is like his like his siblings, very stubborn.
Yeah, well, if he doesn't stop being stubborn, he might turn into a splatter on the floor. She's a very heavy one.
Yeah, he would rather fight Meg than be splattered. That's why I should probably get inside.
No, I didn't say they were getting in a fight. I'm just saying she's heavy. If she sits
No,
in him for too
Red,
long,
you
he
don't
makes it
understand. Mad Lad starts walking inside. Red will start the fight.
Oh, well, that would be unfortunate because Meg has really sharp teeth and that could end it. Sorry, we'll leave you to the butchery. Let's go ahead and and Coco immediately shoves with Madeline back inside while Roper just kind of lifts a hand, but can't stop the two of you from leaving and just sort of stands there in the cold. He looks back to the tree line for a minute, and I'm going to roll him a perception check.
Mm-hmm.
And then a D100. If I could just find his sheet, I now have a decent amount of tabs up. Here we go. Perception is 1d20 plus 8. So that's a 27.
Ooh.
Now we need to roll a D100. And we're looking for a low number.
Let's see. Maybe you should let me roll it. I am notorious in my friend group for rolling low D100s.
I tell you what, you'll give it one shot.
All right.
A single shot.
I'll just roll it right here. Ha! Straight in the middle.
And I give it one shot because a 50 is not going to cut it. He looks to the tree line but sees nothing. He looks back to the dinner critters, and although they object to it, they do have the telepathic note for them to head in, so they sort of ethereally trail along behind you without your immediate notice and just follow you inside.
Yeah, Mad Lad is quickly is a sort of pushing Meg a little bit off so Red could get out of there. He's just like, Red, go. Say, move. I know. Move, move.
That's a contested strength check, actually. Because Meg does not want to be pushed.
Yeah, Mad's like, Meg, trust me when I say, let me get off Red for like 1 second. You do not want this to happen. You said strength?
1d20 plus 3. It is contested athletics. But
Athletics?
yes, that will be strength for Meg, so.
So that's gonna be a 14.
16. You are going through, the three of you are going through that Lilo and Nani skit of gravity is increasing on me. No, it's not. Yes, it did. It did just the same this morning. Meg is not moving. And after a while, Meg actually kind of leans a bit and does get off of Red and then falls immediately on you. You are now sufficiently cartoonishly crushed underneath the cookie dragon.
Red does not like this, as he does sort of like that, like, he's not a horse, but he does like that hoof stomp as he stands up, as he uses his own, he basically grabs them like a stag beetle, grabs the cookie like a stag beetle to athletics and get this dragon off his boy.
All right, one more athletics check then.
And he gets to add proficiency. Oh, okay. All right, that's gonna be Yep, 18.
Against an 11, there's like a moment where Meg is just kind of smugly lounging. Again, this is not like killing intent. This is just cartoonishly flattening a boy. And he's just laying there all nice and warm and toasty. And you were kind of surprised at how warm the dragon is compared to the fireplace. The dragon is kind of its own furnace. And then Meg gets lifted. There is like an actual sprinkle-covered question mark that appears over their head. And what does Red do with them once they picked them up?
You know how male stag beetles win competitions?
By flipping them off?
Yeah, he basically yeets them backwards. Instincts have taken over. It's just like, there's something in my claws. Yeet.
Okay, I need to roll a dexterity saving throw for the Drake. Otherwise, poor Ollie is going to lose some antiques. So that's going to be a +4. Thankfully, doesn't seem like she hits any of the fine china, but they do kind of bonk against the wall and break a few shelves on the way down, and Coco immediately cringes at that. Not cringes in pain, but just cringes as in, oh no, he's not going to be happy about that. And Meg just sort of sits there a moment, processes what happens, and then slowly sits up and glares at Red. Now, hey, Meg.
Red, no. Red.
We're working together at the moment. We don't need to pick a fight. There are allies at the moment. We don't need to pick a fight. Yeah. Understood?
Yeah, easy, Red. No, say, they're off me now. I am safe. You just say, let's just move to the side a little bit. Red is still in it is still sort of offensive position, but Mad Lad's just
I need
like
to
sort of.
roll animal handling real quick. So that's gonna be +6 for Coco. That is a nat 20.
Nice.
And as the dragon, you can see the way that her mouth is starting to light up. You see Coco actually steps over her and puts both of her cookie hands on her face and just kind of holds her close and goes, Meg, chill. You laid on him first. It's only fair he got to flip you. This is not the fight you need to pick, okay? Save that fire for something else. And Meg just has full eye contact, glaring with Coco, but you see the fire slowly sniff out. You see it slowly smother into just smoke, then steam. Smells slightly nice, but then again, you're not used to the smell of slightly roasted dragon fruit.
Yeah, and Red, seeing that the aggression go away, sort of relaxes themselves with Mad Lad's help of calming them down.
And you understand Draconic, right?
Yes.
And you hear the dragon companion grumble, if it wasn't for the fact that we're working together at the moment, we could be having dinner right about now. Yes, I'm aware of that fact. But we don't need to do that to these guys, okay? They're not dinner. They are friends, not food. For now. For now. Okay? We can agree on for now. Look, Roguefort's going to be coming in soon, and he's going to be really cold. So maybe it would cheer him up a bit if you could warm him up. How's that? And then Meg just kind of rolls her eyes. And you can hear the little draconic grumble of, he's going to smell like cake and cookies. I smell like cookies. Well, yes, but you smell like a good cookie. He does not. He smells burnt, charred, sour, not sweet. I still think you could warm him up. And he might agree to it more compared to the bug. He might also squish easier than the bug. Consider that. This is Roguefort we're talking about. He's the best hunter the food court's got. He's not gonna squish. You'll be fine. Quit being a baby. And then the dragon just gets a little pout going, and yeah, Coco does actually herd Meg out of the room. You do briefly note that her necklace is slightly watching you longer than she does, but not for too much longer, as it follows her gaze and looks like a normal necklace afterward.
Yeah, Mad Lad knows that, but he's mainly focused on calming Red down and putting him to the side just in case if Meg comes back, at least the dragon would have room for the fire. And Mad Lad just sort of sighs in relief as Red sort of settles down fully. Crisis averted.
Crisis averted. And it's a good while before you hear Roguefort actually come in. It's very late into the evening when he finally comes in, and the first and immediate thing he's doing is he beelines immediately past any socialization and goes directly to shower.
That's fair.
But you do notice that the dinner critters, half of them followed to where Coco and Meg are resting. The other half are sitting with you by the fire. This includes Bianca.
Yeah. Mad Lad as they are alone sitting by the fire enjoying it because Red likes the dinner critters. He will let them lay all over him if they wanted to, and probably are. And
Admittedly, he at least has the bunker laying like with his back to him, like you'll see cats do sometimes, just back to back.
yeah.
Just a big flop.
And Mad Lad
Prob-
looks towards the white strawberry and Bianca, and, and then sort of looks around, makes sure that they're sort of alone, and he does cast speak with animals on himself, and so he can hear her response, just like, Bianca.
I forgot what accent I did first, so I apologize. I'm not going to sound quite the same.
Oh no, you're fine.
It has been forever since Bianca's gotten to talk. What is it?
If I disappear without any rhyme or reason, don't come after me.
Oh, that's a terribly disconcerting thing to say.
Yeah, it's just plot may be happening soon, and the last thing I want is Roguefort to get mixed up with whatever is going on with me.
Dear, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You are talking to a hive mind.
I
He's
know,
hearing it whether you like it or not.
I know, but I don't like saying it, but it could happen. I'm not very sure if it's going to be within a week or a month, but something bad's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. And I'm sure it's going to turn out alright, but just don't look for me.
Well, I will say this. Judging by any feeling I'm getting off of him, he would most likely think it's quite hypocritical of you to say, "Oh, don't mess in any of my affairs when you want to mess in his." But you are a very capable little boy. You can probably handle yourself,
Yeah,
and he trusts you to do that.
yeah, it's just, it's more of if something happens, that's probably why. And yeah, I'm more worried that my friends are going to be caught up with all this, and they're both of them are younger that are less experienced than me. And they're my best friends, Missy and say Joy. I hate for them to get messed up in my say my plot.
Dear, I'm going to be on the level with you. As a former toon myself, you do need to stop discussing that in front of Roguefort. It's only going to keep confusing him. You
I
can
know.
just say fate, I think, is the easier term for you to use. Plot sounds a little, how do I say, heavy handed.
I mean, we're not toons are subtle creatures, but I'll try to remember to say fate more than plot.
Well, he's a little more familiar with the workings of fate than he is of plot. That's not vocabulary he uses very often, but it means the same thing. Changing the plot, changing fate. You know, how it goes.
Yeah,
But do know this. You can't necessarily say for Roguefort not to get involved in your affairs when you've been so busy getting involved with his.
I mean that's fair. You're right on. You're see, you're right about that, but I just sort of want him to get prepared because I don't even know what's gonna come next, and that's what scares me.
Well, usually nobody does. None of us really know what's going to happen next to us in our lives. That's why we go about every day as if it's our last. I mean,
Mad
shoot. I don't know if I'll be able to last long enough to see Roguefort free, or if I'm going to be squished. That's how it is as a dinner critter. One moment, you're alive, and you're looking to find somebody to eat you, and the next, splat! You're gone. And then he has to make some more.
Lad nods. That's that's fair. And Mad Lad just sort of plops down on his back.
Bianca sort of skitters on forward and just sits flat on the chest like a very small cat.
Mad Lad definitely starts petting them.
I will say, some part of me does remember feeling strange sometimes, but I'm quite used to this. Still, do you really think that plant you were told about by Wibella will work?
it's it's the only say it's the only idea I have, and because of her situation, I believe her. I gotta just believe it works.
Well, who do you want to ask to help then?
I don't know where to start. The Raven Queen. If my mom was around, she probably knows someone. But that's not an option. I don't know many real kind. So, um,
Well, the thing about the Raven Queen is she's not just worshipped by real kind. She's worshipped by Toons too.
mm,
The thing about deities is their presentation may share similarities, but it's always different depending on who they're interacting with. It's why I run into so many different faces and epithets.
mm, fair enough. But even then, I'm not even sure who to ask. The only other person who's like into know of possibly of calling a god is, well, he doesn't belong here. But even then, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't know either how to call a god. Like he's a cleric. He knows how to talk, like get to his god, but not very sure ours. You have any suggestions?
She kind of sits there. And she sits in a way that you think if she had arms, she would have them folded over your chest. Just thoughtfully. And unfortunately, she doesn't have any back legs to like kick. She just has the leaves. But she sits there and thinks. And then, well, she's the Raven Queen, yes? My best bet would be just find some ravens to talk to. Keep talking to them until it sticks.
Hmm.
When in doubt, go the pagan route. Seek and ye shall find.
Mad Lad gives a little nod to this. You know, that's the best answer that I could probably say that sounds reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Now, when Roguefort says he doesn't remember much on talking to her, we don't have much on it either. We do share it, and that's how the memory's survived for so long, is because we've preserved it while he's been, you know.
Hmm.
But even then, we haven't preserved the most of it. Some of it's just out of our reach. And we're certainly not sending you into the Shadowfell. That's a death sentence.
Yeah, I'm
Most,
not very sure if I want to go planar traveling right now, anyways.
especially since she lives in a very big fortress, and it will be very difficult for you to find it and get back safely. We don't want to gamble on that.
Yeah, probably the best idea.
If you have doubts, you could talk to Bell and ask. He might know more on religion and speaking to others, though I don't think he'll like it much. But I think that's just because of the whole devil against the gods thing. But you
Yeah,
were planning on asking him to help you anyway, so better late than never.
that's fair enough. Maybe
Although,
Belle could at least maybe point me in the right direction. If if
although
not, we can always follow the birds.
you could always follow the birds. I will give you the heads up. He hasn't seemed to be in the best of moods lately. I don't really quite know what's up with him, but he just lingers by the windows all the time.
Yeah,
Fiddles about with these papers and just looks all perplexed and sad, and then he'll disappear for hours on end and then come back tired.
yeah.
He's not seeming to do very well, but then again, I can't necessarily ask him, can I?
I only heard from Chaos that he just say he just misses someone.
Well, I suppose that would be it. I don't know if that's all of it, but I suppose heartache will do that to someone.
Yeah, he won't say he won't tell me any more about it, but that's God's theory.
And are you certain you can't just ask Chaos to do it for you?
No, I I could ask him, but he's also a god of chaos, of mayhem and destruction, and also trickery and stuff. Like, he will mess up the plot on purpose if he thinks it's funny. I am not trusting that to him.
Ah, right. That would make sense. That would make sense.
Look, I'm look. This just makes sure he stays out of the plot. And if it is a part of fate, say he will stay out of it. From what I've gathered. But all right, maybe talk to Belle first. If not,
You you could try and seek out some elves. I don't remember much on the Raven Queen, but I believe she used to be affiliated with them before she was who she was. At least that's what I remember from the books. I don't remember the books much. I don't remember reading much, which is a shame. I used to love reading. Now words look all confusing to me.
yeah, that's sad. Yeah, but I don't even know any elves to even start there. So we'll call that Plan C.
Very well. Bell can be a start. The birds can be plan B. Or would you rather have Bell be plan B? They both start with B. Either one could work.
Either one could work, but at least I know where to find Belle. I would have to track down ravens.
I mean, it is the winter season. They're actually in quite good number around here from what I've seen. You might have a difficult time, but you would need to go through the testing process of every raven.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Every raven. So at least Belle's one person.
True. Just in case, though, I would maybe do some research and gather up an offering for her. That'd be a good first step.
Hmm. You got a point.
Maybe an offering for Bell too, but I don't think he needs as much ceremony. I just think he needs a pick me up.
No, that's completely fair.
You hear that, and on cue, there is the whip open and slam of a door, and you hear hooves heading back up the stairs.
Mad Lad looks to see who it is.
Belle is immediately beelining to bed.
Belle, are you okay?
I'm tired. I'm sleeping. Good night.
Okay, I was just worried of what that door slam.
There's like a brief silence. You hear the hoof stop back down. He checks the door to make sure he didn't break it, and then he goes right back up the stairs. He appears to be somewhat beat up,
Can
but
you
he's
come?
not talking about it. He's just heading up the stairs.
Hey, Belle, do you want me to heal you?
No, I'm fine.
But
Good
you look,
night.
but you
Good
look.
night. Good night.
All right.
And he is gone.
Yeah, he's definitely going through stuff. I can find him on a better day once he's rested.
Once he's rested. But
Ugh.
you need to rest too, of course. If you're going to be taking some dangerous journey without us, you need to be prepared.
Yeah, I do. And I need to check it.
Now, you first. Terribly sorry. I forget I interrupt sometimes.
No, you're fine. And I need to check in on my friends anyways. I need to. There's a whole conversation I need to have with Missy and Joy, and I'm not. It's not going to be pleasant.
Oh, it hardly ever is.
Yeah,
But I'm certain you can handle it.
it's more of like talking about their skill level. Like they want to be coming on more adventures with me, but I'm a lot more experienced than them, and I worry.
Those are big words coming from a little boy.
Yeah, but I also grew up in a maybe not the most normal situation. Like I basically learned how to fight since I was popped into existence.
Yes, and you're still a little boy.
Mm.
What
Hushy.
you call a lot of experience is still not much compared to others.
Well, it's more experience than they have. Let's just say that for kids our age.
We can say that.
Mm.
And she just sort of scoots up a bit so she can lay on your face instead. You know the cat method of trying to cover your mouth.
Yeah, Mad Lad just looks at her. It's still not something I'm. And he's just like pushes away the little leaf that's probably covering his mouth. He's just like, I'm still not going to be comfortable speaking about it, and I need to do that sooner than later, and I need a good night's sleep for that.
So sleep then. And she crawls right back on top of your mouth and just sits her little leafy butt there.
Mad Lad just realizes what's happening. He's like, all right, bedtime. Through like muffled leaf and just falls asleep.
As soon as you say the code word, every other dinner critter that is not currently curled up to red immediately scampers up to you.
Duh.
You kind of lay there for a while, and it's not difficult to get to sleep, but it's not easy either.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you fall asleep, and as the dinner critters kind of settle to keep you warm, there are eventually some light steps. And Roguefort steps back into view, and he walks over. The dinner critters kind of part, and he reaches down, picks you up with his newly clean arms, and just sort of cradles you in his arms as he brings Mad Lad up to his own proper bed and tucks him in there. All without waking him up.
Yeah. Adorable.
He gives him a little ruffle of the hair, gives a rather sad glance to Bianca, gives the sad glance back. And instead of Mad Lad going to talk to him, Roguefort decides he's not going to bother Belle at the moment. But he's thinking about it. Still, he goes back over, and Coco has also fallen asleep. And instead of bringing her to a bed, because she technically doesn't have one, he just brings over a blanket and just drapes it over her and attempts to drape it over the dragon, but the dragon kind of does it themselves.
Fair.
They sort of exchange a sideways glance, and then he's back to the fireplace, where he decides he wants to start roasting some chestnuts for dinner. The blanket doesn't cover the eye that's on Coco's necklace, but Coco is sitting by her lonesome sleeping anyway. And as Coco sleeps, and the eye quietly looks around and scopes everything out, it slowly goes glassy again as the hag supervising it through decides they're done supervising for the evening and also would like to do something else other than watch this schmaltzy, sweet nonsense where he's designed to put blankets on people and be nice. Ugh. Tastes foul to look at. The pair of large, bony hands sets down the scrying bowl that was being used to look through the eye and gets back to work. But not before reconcealing those hands to look as beautiful and broad and brawny and strong as they can. After all, the hags were successful in getting their youth and beauty, but at least one of them is a little more comfortable in her old skin than in her new one. Not to make herself hideous, but she does prefer old over new.
Fair.
But I believe it sounds like a good conclusion point.
Oh yeah,
Don't
for
you?
sure. Mhm. Yeah. So thank you all for listening in on this 12 FPS. We hope you have a good time zone.
Remember to stay safe, keep 6 feet apart. COVID is still going around, and you need to still be careful about it no matter what you're hearing from the news. Whether that involves masks or not is up to you. I can't necessarily stop you. I'm a voice in a box. But because it's a season of heavy travel and holidays, we hope you have a safe and pleasant time, and that you at least remember to keep your family members and yourselves safe at this time of year. And we hope that you actually get some fucking snow, and if you don't, that it's refreshingly chilly for your winter.
Yeah.
On the count of 3, we say good night. 1, 2, 3.
Good night.
Good night. Until next time.